Let's jump right into 2 Nephi chapter 5.
Okay, yeah.
The story of Nephi. You see, right away, in just the first couple verses, he's got some real opposition from his brothers.
Yeah, Laman and Lemuel.
Laman and Lemuel, right?
Always causing problems.
And it's like, people who are listening to this have probably gone through this themselves, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Where it's like your family just doesn't get it.
Absolutely. It's a timeless theme, isn't it?
It is.
That tension between, your beliefs and the people you love.
Yeah, and for Nephi, it's even worse because it's like they actually want to kill him.
Yeah. I mean, verse 4, it says right there, and it came to pass that they did seek to take away my life.
That's scary stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty intense.
What do you do when you're facing persecution like that?
Well, I think for Nephi, it was, he turned to God.
Yeah.
He received that divine guidance,
right.
That warning to separate himself from his brothers and to flee into the wilderness.
With everyone who believes him.
Exactly. It's a leap of faith.
It is.
And, I think it's a powerful metaphor for so many of us who maybe feel like we have to step away from what's familiar to really, live our faith.
To live authentically.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not always a physical wilderness, right? Sometimes it's more of an internal
journey, absolutely.
Wilderness of the heart.
That's a good way to put it.
And what I love about this story is they don't just wander around aimlessly.
Right.
Like they actually build something.
Yeah, they build a new community, call themselves the people of Nephi. Yeah. And they commit to living according to God's commandments.
Yeah, and they prosper.
They do. Verse 10 talks about how they built homes, they cultivated the land.
So they were blessed for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it just shows you that resilience that comes from faith. Even in the face of hardship, you can create something beautiful.
Yeah, it reminds me of that scripture in Ether that talks about faith being the substance of things hoped for.
The evidence of things not seen.
Exactly.
Powerful stuff.
So powerful. And that's what they did, right?
Yeah.
They had that faith and they acted on it.
They took that leap and they put in the work.
But even in this new land, even though they've kind of escaped this persecution,
right?
Nephi doesn't forget about the hatred of his brothers.
No, he doesn't.
And he prepares his people.
Yeah, he's teaching them practical skills.
Yeah.
Building metalworking.
Even making swords.
Yeah, verse 14 talks about that.
Which is wild, right?
It is. It's like this interesting contrast.
Totally.
You have this deep faith,
Trust in God.
Yeah, but also this very real-world approach to preparedness.
Yeah, like that saying, pray like it all depends on God, but work like it all depends on you.
Exactly.
They're trusting God, but they're also taking responsibility.
It's a good balance, I think.
It is.
One that we could all learn from.
Absolutely.
We can pray, but we also need to take action.
Yeah, be prepared for whatever comes our way.
Exactly.
And speaking of preparation, Nephi doesn't just focus on practical skills.
Right.
He also builds a temple.
He does.
Modeled after Solomon's temple.
To create that space for worship and connection with God.
Which is amazing considering they're still trying to establish themselves in this new land.
Yeah, it's remarkable. Even with limited resources, they make it a priority.
Yeah.
It shows you how central their faith was to their lives.
They knew it wasn't just about physical survival.
Right.
It was about their spiritual well-being as well.
Absolutely. They needed that connection with God to truly thrive.
And then it gets really interesting because they want to make him king.
Yeah.
And he declines.
He does.
He says in verse 18 that he would rather have shared leadership.
That's so powerful.
Isn't it?
It really speaks to his humility.
Yeah.
And his understanding of what true leadership is.
It's not about power or control.
Yeah.
It's about service.
Yeah. Empowering others.
Which is really challenging for us today.
It is. It goes against so much of what our culture tells us about leadership.
And then there's that passage that's generated a lot of discussion over the years.
Yeah.
About the Lamanites and the skin of blackness.
Verses 21 through 23.
Yeah, it's a complex one.
It is. It requires a lot of careful consideration.
Nuance. Right?
Absolutely. And it's important to remember the historical context, the cultural influences.
We have to be careful.
We do.
About how we interpret these things.
I think it's a good reminder that Scripture can be challenging.
It can.
And it requires both faith.
And honesty.
Yeah, intellectual honesty.
Yeah.
It's a journey of learning.
It is.
Of understanding.
Seeking deeper understanding.
So even with those difficult passages,
right.
Nephi's story is so powerful.
It is.
And it offers so much wisdom and guidance.
And he constantly reminds us of the importance of remembering the past.
Yeah.
Learning from those who came before us. In verses 29 through 33, he's talking about the value of scriptures and personal reflection.
It's about understanding our roots.
Yeah.
Recognizing that we're part of a larger story.
That's so good.
It is. It's powerful.
And it helps us appreciate everything we have today.
Absolutely.
So we can build a better future.
Yeah, for those who come after us.
It's a great legacy to leave behind.
It is. It's a beautiful thing.
And I think that's what Nephi was all about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He was a visionary, a leader, and a man of deep faith.
Yeah, I think we can all learn a lot from his example.
I agree. Yeah, it's like we're standing on the shoulders of giants, learning from their experiences.
It makes me think about like my own life too.
Yeah.
Like, what are those moments that have really shaped me?
Yeah, what are the lessons we've learned along the way?
What have been those like wilderness experiences for me?
Oh yeah, those refining fires, where you're tested. And...
where you come out stronger.
Exactly.
It's amazing because Nephi and his people didn't just survive, they thrived.
Yeah, they built homes.
They built a whole culture.
Verse 9 and 11 talk about that.
Yeah, it's so cool. And they didn't just focus on like the practical stuff.
Right.
They built a temple too.
Verse 16.
Even though they didn't have a lot of resources.
It shows that their priorities.
Yeah.
That connection with God was so important to them.
That spiritual richness.
Yeah, and it reminds me that we need that too.
We do.
That connection with something bigger than ourselves.
And it's interesting because Nephi was obviously a man of faith.
Oh, yeah.
But he was also like a really practical leader.
Right.
He taught his people how to do things.
He prepared them for danger.
He didn't just like, sit around and pray.
No, he took action.
Like verse 15.
Yeah, that's a good example.
Where he's teaching them about metalworking and all that.
Yeah, it's that balance.
Yeah.
Of faith and action.
And then when they want to make him king,
right,
he's like, no thanks.
He wants shared leadership.
Verse 18.
So humbling.
Isn't?
Yeah, it really challenges our ideas about leadership.
It does.
It's not about power.
Oh.
It's about serving others.
Which is a hard lesson.
It is. But it's a valuable one.
And it ties into this whole theme of community.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
They weren't just individuals out there.
They were working together.
Supporting each other.
Yeah, sharing their burdens.
And their joys.
Exactly.
They understood that they were stronger together.
And that's a lesson for us, too.
It is.
Yeah.
Whether it's family or community or even like on a larger scale.
Yeah.
Like our country.
Absolutely. We need each other.
And of course, we have to acknowledge the tough parts of this chapter.
Yeah.
Like the passage about the Lamanites.
And the skin of blackness.
It's a sensitive issue.
It is. And it requires a lot of careful thought.
Yeah. We have to be willing to wrestle with those difficult questions.
And be open to different perspectives.
And I think that's part of what makes studying the scriptures so valuable.
It is. It challenges us.
It does.
It stretches our understanding.
It makes us think.
And ultimately, I think it helps us grow.
It does.
As individuals and as a community of faith.
So even with those challenges,
right,
Nephi's story is so inspiring.
It is. It's a story of hope, of resilience,
of faith,
of the power of community.
And it's a story that's still relevant today.
Absolutely.
Thousands of years later.
It speaks to the human experience.
It does.
In a way that transcends time and culture.
It makes me wonder what we can learn from Nephi's example.
Yeah, that's a good question. What insights can we glean from his story?
To help us on our own journeys.
Because these ancient stories, they're not just about the past.
They're about us, too.
Yeah, they're filled with timeless truths.
That can guide us.
And inspire us.
Give us hope.
And help us find meaning and purpose in our own lives.
And sometimes those insights come from the most unexpected places.
Yeah.
Like Nephi's emphasis on remembering the past.
Right.
Studying history.
Verses 29 through 33.
It reminds us that our present is built on the foundation of the past.
Yeah, we're part of this long chain of events.
And it's our responsibility to learn from those who came before us.
To honor their sacrifices.
And to build on what they started.
So we can create an even better future.
Yeah, it's like we've been given this amazing gift, this story of faith and resilience, and it's up to us to keep it going.
To add our own chapter to the story.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what makes Nephi's story so powerful. It's not just something that happened a long time ago.
It's still happening today.
Yeah, in our own lives.
It's an invitation to look at our own journeys.
To ask ourselves some tough questions.
Yeah, like where do we find our strength?
What do we do when things get hard?
What kind of legacy are we leaving behind?
Those are big questions.
They are, but I think Nephi's example can help us find some answers.
He went through so much.
Betrayal, opposition, constant challenges.
But his faith never wavered.
It's amazing.
He found strength in his connection with God.
In his family.
And in his determination to build a better future.
It shows us that even when things feel impossible.
Even when we're surrounded by doubt.
We can still find our purpose.
and build something meaningful.
Something that will last.
And we don't have to do it alone.
Right, just like Nephi had his people.
We have our own communities.
Our families.
People who can support us.
Encourage us.
And help us stay true to what we believe.
It's a reminder that we're all connected.
We're part of something bigger than ourselves.
And together,
we can make a difference.
We can overcome any obstacle.
So as we finish up with 2 Nephi chapter 5, I hope you'll take Nephi's example to heart.
Let his story inspire you.
Challenge you.
And empower you.
To live a life of faith and resilience.
To create your own legacy.
Of hope and goodness.